ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. You know, we have our next guest. I have seen the Melissa Errico show. I have gone to the 54 Below. I have a signed copy of one of her albums. Melissa Errico is a Tony nominee. She puts out albums. She is a muse
Oh,
and a star
I
and
love the word muse.
you
Am
are
I on camera yet?
you are on camera.
Hi, everyone.
Melissa Errico. Melissa Errico. Wait, I'm obsessed with you. Firstly, hello to Patrick. Hello to your family. Hello to he's so
Nobody's home. Everybody in this family is so busy. It's like school's out. I sort of see a teenager. It's like woof. And then either I meet them in the city, they're ballerinas. Do you want to know what Diana's day was yesterday?
Yes,
Just
please.
listen to this. So she gets up at 7. My husband's out of town, so I'm boiling eggs, but 6.5-minute eggs are not working for the family, right? Because they're a little soft in the middle, which is what the French like. My children think that's too wet. So I'm sitting there with my iPhone, like crack it, it's early for me. So I'm up there. Every day I get up at 7:11. I think that's funny. So I get up at 7:11 and because I think that's funny. So it's my generation funny.
I get it.
Yeah, whatever. 7:11. So I get up, I go downstairs, I boil water. I put the dog out. There's a dog to deal with, right? This is my glamorous life. I start the boiling. And while I do the boiling, then I open the door. The little Yorkie goes outside. I come back. Is this boring?
No, this is fascinating.
Okay, so then I boil the egg at 7.5 minutes or whatever it is, but I then will take one out at a time and cut the head off and look at the thing and see, like, is that okay for Juliet? I try to give them a little variation within that minute of like hardness. So I put about 4 eggs in a cup in their little cups, sometimes 5 if one breaks. So I do all of this and I put fruit out and I get hot water and I squeeze lemons. And so they have their lemon water. I've tried to make shakes. When Patrick is away, I make shakes. And he makes shakes better than me, apparently. And they don't like them. So today I wanted to make it fun. I want things to be fun. So I said, Mommy's trying to redeem herself. So the shake went well. I just anything to make them laugh. They're so tired. So it's really early. They have a full day of school. Then I have rehearsal 12 to 4. I get to the ballet school. 4:30 is observation day. Diana's a major balanchine dancer. So she's dancing all the way until 6 or 7. Yesterday was 6. We jumped in a kind of stinky Uber and then we went home. And the minute we got home, she had to eat really quickly. We had dinner already made. She had to eat really quickly. Then she had guitar lesson, which was like electric guitar. And she's playing a song by some cool person that I can look up actually because I wrote it down because I was going to ask my brother.
Your kids are very
No, it goes on. It's not even to be believed. So wait, you're going to know this. Phoebe Bridgers.
Phoebe Bridgers. It's
Phoebe
like
Bridgers.
a very folky and contemporary and young and cool. I'm too old for
So
that.
that's Diana. So she's doing that. Then she has a little while to do homework. Then at 10:15 at night, every other day, they open their 2 laptops, they're twins, and they sit at the dining room table and they teach English to children in Cambodia. And like you hear all these little voices and they're going long A, or they're going time, time. And you hear these little kids going time.
They do that at 10:15 at night because you just raised good people.
Every day.
Long E.
And you can hear, let's see if you can hear the little voices. It's so cute. So there's the children. You see them?
Yes. Nice long E sound. Yes. Good long E. We like long E.
We like long E. So that's them teaching.
Name.
Melissa.
Yeah, closer, but again, I'm hearing a little of the E sound.
They said Nama, and they're saying name.
Name.
Those
Good,
are,
that was better.
that's their class.
Your kids are so fantastic and sweet.
So that's the Errico and Mac. So much fun. But I mean, they're literally teaching kids in Cambodia, like after a full day and starting with eggs and shakes and dogs and
Well, this is what I love about you and your family is that you are a Broadway star, you are a recording artist, you are on tour, you book a lot of dates. Melissa Errico is on the road, people. Like Melissa is on the road and you see her singing, and we're going to talk about her show. And then your husband is like a superstar tennis player, and you all raise,
Well, he
well,
was. He was. Now
was.
he's a superstar, like you in the media.
Yeah, well,
He's
I don't,
yeah. Yeah.
that is the sweetest thing anyone has ever said about me. So shout out to the Mr. McEnroe himself. So for you, what is fascinating to me is you never take the easy road. You like to work, and you if you're going to sing Sondheim, if you're going to sing your noir album, you could take the easy road and sing, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and make it sound gorgeous, Melissa Eric. But
Well,
you
thank
like
you.
to,
I'm not sure that's true, actually. It's hard to twinkle, twinkle, little star. It's hard to, engage an audience. You have to work hard these days to, yeah.
your shows, you don't have one show on the road, like you have
Well,
multiple.
that's the problem. That's because that's that's called that's called quirky. That's quirky. I shouldn't really let that happen. But what happens is, as you know, doing cabaret yourself, is that you have one show that will appeal to. Well, anyway, what happens is you just create all these things, and then people will ask, and then a year pops up, and you're like, "Oh my God, did I say I would learn film noir once for Long Beach, California?" And then you're like, "Gosh, that's 24 songs. Like, how am I going to learn that again?" So your head's exploding sometimes. I try to pace it so that for the most part, I'm singing Sondheim. In a year, I put out a Sondheim record. I put out a second Sondheim album. There might be people watching this who are like, "Who is this lady?"
No, they're not.
Okay, so if
She's
they're
got she's got two Sondheim albums that are absolutely gorgeous. She has a Sondheim shows that are absolutely stunning, and you need to see them. And you need to see all of the things Melissa Errico does. If you're in Jersey, she's coming to the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. If you're in, we're going to get to the DC area in a moment, because that's her personal, that's a
that's a
special.
new thing. Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
new thing. But the Sondheim stuff, I have what I call countdown to Sondheim right now, which is kind of the end of a full year and a half of releasing the record, the Sondheim in the City album, which, do you know what? It's a gift that keeps on giving, because I I put out my first album of Sondheim that was more lyrical and philosophical and almost like a quiet spiritual album, like a letter you would write privately to your children, to loved ones, to your eternal life, just like all the wisdoms that will last and that have a kindness in them. I was positing at the time that Sondheim is a deeply empathic, loving, warm man. I think I was ahead of the curve on this.
Were.
I think I'm going to just go out and say that. I think I was ahead of the curve. A lot of people said you can swear by Sondheim or whatever, but I think I found him to be a deity almost of kindness, like a druid, if you will. And I do think that there was a little edgier reputation, that he's virtuosic, intelligent, intellectual, neurotic, maybe even not very nice. Into some the older folks. We're the old folks now, at least I am. But the older folks, there's some people he really broke, actually. He was a little intense. And his work is edgy, and people thought of it as, intellectual or hard to sing, or hard to remember. He said the reason you can't remember his songs is because you didn't play them enough. Like that's what in his book he says, like when you repeat something, people learn it. That it wasn't just wasn't played enough. But so you have Sondheim's former reputation. My first album was about empathy, really, and what I would consider human and one-on-one empathy, as well as global empathy, like the idea that in Sunday in the Park with George, there's an island of the Grand Jatte, and all these different people of different walks of life, and the end are in balance and harmony. It's a democratic ideal. It's tolerance. It's pluralism. It's so many things. So I was looking at it as like world peace, if you will. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just one idea that I saw in empathy, never mind his human empathy and the loving songs, things like Loving You, and just the sense of purpose that love gives us, even if Fosco was crazy. Uh,
No, but
but it gave her purpose, and love can give you purpose. And so I was looking at things like that. The second album was a celebration of the energy of New York that defined Sondheim. He lived his whole life in a 20-block radius in New York City, and he loved the city, and he loved neurotic people who are so often urban, people who had what he called rumblings under the surface. So you have Merrily and Anyone Can Whistle and Company
Company.
and Saturday Night and other things, that other shows that are based in Manhattan. Um, and those are the tools of the Sondheim in the city. And the album is really fun to sing. It's so fun. I have James Taylor's pianist right now, Clifford Carter, who's known as a groove pianist, and he's playing it on Saturday night at the Stoller Center. This may
James,
be over by the time you air this.
no, James Taylor's piano player.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's Idina Menzel's. She smartly brought him into her, rock and pop, beautiful touring career. So he's her musical director. Yeah, she's so smart,
Well,
and he's
I
so good. He's so soulful, actually. He's really soulful. He'll play like Van Morrison, and he's just so cool. And so while he's playing Sondheim, he goes, I hear a little Donald Fagen in this. And, and he hears a little of this. You should go online and listen to his idea. I was leaving yesterday in a snow coat, and I walked up to the piano and I said, thank you, Clifford. What a sweet man he is. And he's like, I said something about, we always forget to rehearse Send in the Clowns. And I said something about, well, we didn't do clowns. And he goes, yeah, yeah. I was thinking about, that. I had a couple ideas. Well, when we have time, someday. And I had my snow coat on or my ski jacket. And I said, well, what do you mean? What ideas? And he takes the music out of his bag. He's so cash. He's got the long hair and he's stuff. He's like, oh, a hippie, He's so cool. He puts the music up on the thing. And I said, you know what? You never know. I take my iPhone and I just put it on the piano. And I put it on Instagram last night. He played the Send in the Clowns in a way you've never heard before. It's so weird and interesting. Do you want to hear a second of it?
Yes, sure. And we're going to follow you. We can follow Melissa. The links will be below us while we're talking, and you can follow Melissa and you can stay up to date. And you can go to her website, which is also linked below, so that you can get all the dates for all of the shows and see all of her albums that are all out. You can stream them and buy them and
Yeah, so check it out.
check it out. Go with it.
One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move. Where are the clouds? Send in the clouds.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Just
Yes. That song.
It's like a groove song. It's got a meditate.
He's
It's
and
got like a meditative, but it's not wrong actually.
no.
It's all like a bad regret dream.
Well, you are the person to sing these songs, and you sing them around the country, and you can see her in New York, Jersey, like I said. And yes, I'm shameless plug myself with you that on June
Yeah. Oh, we're
20th,
gonna have to rock it. What is that? June 20th?
June 20th, it's my third annual Pride party at 54 Below, where I do only diva song. I may have to sing a
Yeah.
Melissa Errico diva song.
Yeah, or maybe I should, I don't know, come and kiss you on the
Please come and Robbie
on the,
Roselle
on the
directs the
cheek.
show, and Robbie directs it. And
Aw.
so when Robbie was at your Christmas show when you were in pajamas, and you need to go see Melissa. And I have people coming that come to my shows, so they love Billy Stritch, who's playing your show.
Yeah, yeah.
And my
We should
friend,
do like back to back. Like we
right,
should have some people go back to back.
that's what Christine Clifton, who's from North Carolina, is taking the train and seeing the 7 o'clock Melissa Errico show, the
Oh.
celebrity hour, the 7 o'clock fancy hour, and then slumming it with me at 9:30.
Yeah. Exactly. The London, they say she's the classiest. So I'm leading up to, I don't know why I talk in circles, but I'm doing all these Sondheim in the City things. They're all leading up to July 12, where I'm making my solo concert hall debut in London at the best spot. So for me, this is all kind of leading up, and London is billing me there as the classiest concert of the season.
Oh, I
So
believe
it's
it
so
doesn't
stupid,
get
but I'll
classier than
take it.
that. That is fair.
You
I
don't need
have
to
to
be, yeah.
agree.
I'll let me do one thing and you do the other, and we'll have a blast.
We're gonna have I love that. Can you tell us, while we're speaking of new shows and all of the work that you do, because you, I guess, don't like to sit, she writes for the New York Times and she does she does on television and all the things that she does. And
I used to do television. I'd love to do television. I don't know, I look okay, they should
look,
call me.
look at me, you don't age. And I will have so many questions about your gorgeous hair, but I was gonna save that
I
for
went
another
to the
time.
salon. I'm guilty. I knew I had you today, so I got a hair. What's it
Melissa,
called? A blow
it's so
dry.
gorgeous.
A blow dry.
It's so when I'm sharing, when you're in the next dressing room on the 20th over there, and I'm over here in the broom closet, and I'll bring
The
you.
broom closet doesn't exist anymore. Oh, the,
No,
the smaller dressing room does
but
exist.
there was a broom closet at one point.
There was. It's now a broom closet.
I was in there once. I've come a long way now. So I'll bring you some cheese doodles, or I don't know what Melissa Errico eat, but hard-boiled eggs, or maybe
What, before I sing, I like melon.
I'm gonna bring you some melon.
I
Uh,
think Pavarotti liked melon, and I heard from someone that he had a little dish on the stage of
Oh, well,
melon.
oh, well, then that's what I'm gonna bring you,
You would
Melissa.
just shove a little melon in his mouth,
What
apparently.
I'm very moved by your new show, and I have to tell you about Aunt Rose and
Okay, so this is a special. I have the Sondheim thing, which is kind of my bread and butter, is my life. I'm an actress forever. I love Sondheim. He's the druid. That's a constant. There's a special thing happening, and that's what we're here to talk about. So everything we just talked about,
is you.
forget it.
No, but this
But this is special. Now, when I do Sondheim and I do a lot of other theme concerts, I often mention my family history. Stephen Sondheim, as everybody out there knows, if they know anything about Stephen Sondheim, they know he wrote musical Follies. And Follies was about the New Amsterdam Theater in New York City, which was a vaudeville theater from a time before there was radio, microphones, film, never mind Spotify. There was nothing except you'd go to a variety show or a vaudeville to hear music. The only other alternative you had in American history was to buy sheet music and go home and play it. That was it. So the New Amsterdam Theater, this is for all the young people out there, was on 42nd Street, and it was a vaudeville stage. And those shows were a little bit like 54 Below. They were little show, like you and me are going to be the king and queen of June 20th, 2025. That would happen all the time at a vaudeville stage. You'd have 5 minutes, 5 minutes. This woman would do a thing where she takes a chair and she spins it around with her teeth. And then another three girls would have a handkerchief, and they would do a modern dance, and a juggler and a beautiful girl would sing, and a comedian, and all this crazy stuff. Ziegfeld, Florence Ziegfeld, created vaudeville pinnacle, like the good, like the best. Beautiful singing. Fanny Brice, who became Funny Girl, the musical, great Jewish, brilliant performer, an actual person, in case anyone didn't know that. And then these beautiful girls called Ziegfeld girls, and they used to have feathers, and they were just the prettiest things. And he said that out of the vast garden of girls, these were the perfect blossoms. So they're most beautiful women in America. Now, that whole business went out of business when movies started. We have Judy Garland and all these old films and so on. All of that put all this out. Everyone was out of work. Studs Terkel, every famous person in vaudeville. And they demolished the theater. And as they were crashing it down, Stephen Sondheim went, oh my God, there goes American history. And he wrote a musical called Follies about all the elderly people coming back to look at the theater one more time and have a reunion. And their young selves, that we all know the musical now, all the young Sally and things, they come out and they beautiful. And the old people remember how beautiful they were and what they used to want and who they were, and their dreams. And it's a Sondheim musical called Follies. So I mention that, and I sing from Follies in my Sondheim shows. Somebody from Washington, D.C. heard these stories and know that my family came over from Italy, and my grandmother was a singer, and her beautiful sister was discovered by Ziegfeld, and she became one of his favorites. She is a great Follies girl.
girl. That's Rose.
That's her. You can feel the 20s starting. You can see the hairstyle. But she was working in the teens, and she was working into her later years, when the Follies was really finishing, late 20s, early 30s. So you can feel the 20s and the hairstyle there. That was later in her career. Um, so I have a Follies girl in my life. So that ties me to Sondheim. It ties me to American history, it ties me to my Italian immigrant history. Very important stuff right now about immigrants in our country, and this may be misunderstanding that we are nothing without immigrants, but because we are all. She's an immigrant. She's not ashamed to us, is she? No. So, somebody saw me performing and hearing the story that before she was a great Follies girl, she was a seamstress sewing uniforms for the First World War. And a man saw me who works in the government as well as a private company called the Doughboy Foundation, and their job is to remember the First World War. The First World War was not much on my mind, but my Aunt Rose and my grandmother were seamstresses sewing uniforms. That ties me to the war. Her sister, my grandmother, married Babbo. He fought in the First World War. I mentioned this to my mother, that I'm talking about maybe doing a concert about the First World War. I was approached by someone, and she says, we have Babbo's sword. And she brings out this huge weapon in the closet, and it's a soldier's sword. So I started doing this, studying the First World War. The First World War is the beginnings of immigration in our country. The 1890s to 1910, you have millions and millions of people coming from everywhere, Ireland, everywhere, Italy, everywhere, Eastern Europe, Jewish people, everything. And then Europe went to war in 1914. So we're over here hearing about a war over there, and we're like, uh-oh. And we tried not to get into the war, but because we just got our independence and we just became a democracy, the United States felt like we have to go because too many people are dying. And it was called fighting for democracy, which we have basically done ever since then until about last week.
Literally.
Like literally last week, because Trump doesn't believe in supporting the Ukraine. So that's actually been our foreign policy forever. So the First World War is an interesting time from a historical standpoint, from an immigration standpoint, and then number one, from a musical standpoint. Jazz was being invented at that time. And because of the Follies, that's where music was being transmitted. Because I have this Follies girl in my life, I've created a concert that tells you about Rose and that creates the world of the Follies. And I will sing all the music of the First World War in the way people would have heard it. And I've learned all the music. A lot of these songs came from London music halls to United States. We had our own music, and we had political argument about whether we should join the war or not. We had like songs called I Didn't Raise My Boy to Be a Soldier. I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. I brought him up to be my pride and joy. Who dares to put a musket on his shoulder to shoot some other mother's darling boy? Let nations arbitrate their future troubles. It's time to throw the sword and gun away. There'd be no war today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. And that's 1917, 1918, 1917, 1916. It's right in the war. It's a war. It's an anti-war song. So sorry, my dog is obviously
I love your dog, and I have my own dog. May 7th is
he doesn't like mail, and the mailman is a
May 7th. May 7th, the story of a rose, a musical reverie on the Great War, comes to the Rachel Schlesinger Concert Hall in Alexandria, Virginia. I have a question. I was very moved when I got the press release, and shout out to your people for thinking of us. And you, my old friend, I remember talking to you about Vegas and then seeing your show and all the things
we've had a lot of fun.
We My mother's name is Rose. My great grandmother's name is Rose, and my grandfather's an Italian immigrant who came here from Italy at 18 years old. My dad's last name is Bannon, but my grandmother is Vincenza Di Meglio, and I was always very proud of the fact that my grandfather came here from Italy at 18 and didn't speak any English, and my
Huh.
grandmother was a seamstress in Fort Lee, New Jersey,
Oh,
and they met each other and their journey as illegal immigrants to becoming Americans, and I wouldn't be who I am without their guts and without their hard work and becoming a part of the fabric of this country. And I know your family is a bunch of brilliant people. Your father is, you all have a bunch of very smart, educated
yeah,
people,
he's a
but
doctor and so
doc,
on. Yeah, a doctor, but he fought in Vietnam. Well, he didn't fight. He was a doctor but in the worst of Saigon in the Vietnam War. So I have an affinity to war things, but this is a war thing with the
yeah,
environment of the Follies, and I have called it a reverie because, first of all, she wasn't in the Ziegfeld Follies concert of 1917. She was underage. She wasn't in that concert, but I'm making it like sort of as if we're in the Follies of 1917. It's the general idea of what the Follies felt like and a chance to hear the music. But then I come in and out of it and I teach like I was just doing now. I narrate so people learn what the war was about. And it was so sad. Like it's such a difficult show because it's so sad at sort of the end, as it were. The realities of the First World War are not as charming as the music that supported it, because we wanted to lift spirits and we wanted people to feel um, uh, hope and over there, send the word over there. It's the beginnings of Irving Berlin, Jerome
yes.
Kern, and everything that formed Stephen Sondheim. It's the generation that formed him. So it's so interesting to me. And it's interesting because we're living in such a political time. And I hope to put like a stylish, almost sexy, I call this my sexy Smithsonian show.
I love that.
You know, the sexy Smithsonian, because it's kind of like teachy, but it's also going to be super sexy. I'll be wearing Follies clothes and feathers. But sometimes I'll have like a uniform at one point. And then at the end, I'll end up in a beautiful black kind of jumper, and I might be a little bit like Joan Baez or something, just philosophizing on losses, and a little more like the folk singers, the James Taylors and the Peter, Paul, and Marys of the world, who reflected on these ideas of war and loss and the value of the soldier, in American soldier, these sweet children. They're all the age of my own children for whom I make eggs in the morning. It's
Yes.
the same age. They don't know how to boil an egg. That's why the great song was it's so adolescent. The great song of the World War One that we could kind of wrap this up with is the idea is, oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I'd love to remain in bed. That's a great Irving Berlin song.
Yes.
Hate to get up in the morning. They don't want to get up.
Neither do I. Well, you listen, when you get tickets, everybody, this great organization, the Doughboy Foundation, if you're a first responder, you served in the military, you get a gigantic discount.
Oh, you must come. And because these are the same people that gave the honor to the First World War this year with the first ever World War One national statue. There's a
The,
memorial.
the
It's
monument.
amazing.
Yes.
Monument. It's across
Gorgeous.
the street from the Willard Hotel, right there by the White House. It's amazing. And I sang to celebrate it with Billy Stritch, actually, with a military orchestra. We went and celebrated. It's a great organization. It's a history organization. And they remember the Harlem Hellfighters. We have that in our show. And the Department of Defense took some of the history off their website yesterday, and the
I-
Trump administration has erased a little bit of it. These are the greatest African American soldiers in our history, and they brought jazz to Europe as well. They were not only fighters, but they were jazz musicians. So there's a lot of important history to remember. And they were wonderful musicians. The music is fun. The ideas are important, but the music is fun. We're going to make this fun. Somehow, I'm going to make World War One fun.
Well, you have the amazing Georgia Boot. He's amazing. His
Yes,
art, amazing in Limpica, amazing in everything he has done.
George.
Amazing,
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. And then you have the incomparable Ted Firth, who is, I mean, he's Ted Firth.
Yeah, George is going to play, like the kind of the MC. He's sort of the Alan Cummings of the Kit Kat Club. It's sort of like the Kit Kat Club does for World War One, what the Follies will do for World War Two, what the Follies will do for World War One. We're going to put ourselves in a nightclub to experience the tensions of war, but in a theatrical sense. So he'll play that. But then when I need a soldier, he'll play the soldier. We need a young man in the show. You can't talk about the war without having a young man in the show.
Well, he's amazing. And then
Yeah,
you
he's got
take
the heart. I can't tell you what I love him so, so much.
and then you take this music and you take Ted and you take the whole thing that you're going to put that on this. It is going to be a very special, special evening.
I hope so. I hope people learn a lot, and I hope they'll find it kind of alluring and historical and I just love it. It's taken a long time for me. This is my first interview. It has taken me so long to be able to talk about it because it's been known forever as the forgotten war. And so when someone said it to me, I was like, "What war? The First World War?" Like it doesn't register. I always worry about the Second World War.
Yes. Well, this
Yeah.
is going to get a history, but in a fun way with great looks. Of course, she's going to have great looks. She always does.
Oh, I'm gonna have three great looks. I have that's for sure. Eric Winterling is making the clothes,
Come
and
on.
he makes the clothes for the Gilded Age, and Death Becomes Her, and
That's
other.
why this is why London says she's the classiest show of the year, people.
Yeah.
This,
Uh,
let's,
so thank you for this interview, and thank
nope,
you for giving it time. I really think this is going to be great. I
it's
call it
gonna
the
be.
story of a rose because my Aunt Rose is my avatar, is my inspiration, sort of the icon of the time that lets me enter the Kit Kat Club. But I have a sword to remind me that it's a serious matter.
Yeah.
But I have George to make it fun, and I have Jerome Kern and Irving Berlin as my musical guides and amazing support, amazing publicists. This is the big leagues, by the way. I don't know if you can tell, but this is the big leagues. Like this is
Well,
big.
and you can't forget you have Melissa Errico. You have her voice, you have her knowledge, and you have her storytelling, which is top notch. And talk about big leagues. Melissa
Thank
Errico up on stage
well,
with her knowledge, using all of the skills. You have so many talents and skills, and you put them to such great use. And
well,
this,
you understand education. I think it's important, to share what I know and to try to make something old sort of fresh again, so that yeah. So.
well, she's so smart and she sings. Have you heard her sing? My goodness gracious. It's unfair, Melissa Errico.
No, no, thank you. I'm not Barbara Streisand, but I feel great. I feel great. I don't know if you've been reading. There's a new trend that the Gen X women are supposed to be kind of sexy.
Yes, and you as you should be. Well,
It's so fun to
I look
see.
forward to hearing all about this show. I look forward to being in New York City with you in June. We're going to tear the place apart. And I look forward to no matter where you are around this country when Melissa Errico is here, follow the link below. The tickets to buy for the show in DC or Virginia area is going to be below. And then all of the dates and everything is on her website. And listen to her music. Listen to her music this week or this weekend when you're watching and around the house, driving in your car. The albums are gorgeous, especially for anyone who loves Sondheim or loves the film noir album, so sexy and gorgeous. You got to listen to Melissa Errico. Thank you. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you. And let's get
Thank you.
together soon and get ready for June.
Get ready for June. See you soon.
See you soon.